Challenges of being a single mother. First of all, you're taking on a role that's not supernatural. So you are taking on this role.
How are you able to do that?
I think you really don't have a choice.
As a single mother to two amazing boys, sometimes you go through some hurdles in life and you feel like giving up. Have you ever gotten to that point before?
I don't think my children have ever made me feel like I want to give up long term.
How do you give back to humanity upon everything that humanity has thrown at you?
I've got another mother who was telling me that she was in the process of choosing between selling her eyes or selling her child.
You mentioned that you're a solo traveler and you help people, humanitarians and stuff. How are their mind being programmed to become successful?
They had a desire to want more for their life. I can't put that desire in you, but if you want that, I have resources.
Welcome to today's episode on SuccessMindset. We really appreciate the love you are showing us on our first episode. It went out a few days ago. So today we have a friend here. We used to work out together, and she's been a great friend. And we used to chat about nonprofit and humanitarian work. But today she's here, and she's going to introduce herself and then tell us about everything that she's been up to. And we are going to learn a lot today, so stay tuned.
Well, pressure is on. Hi, everyone. My name is Ella. I am first and foremost a mother. I've got two little boys. Second, I am a single mother, so that adds challenges and wonderful benefits. Third, I like to say that I am involved with humanitarianism. And fourth, I am a solo traveler. So with those things in the mix, there's a lot of stories that we could pull from.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then we have our co-host here.
Oh, you can call me Ken, and I'm excited to be with you guys again today.
Well, as you all know, my name is Detect, and today I'm going to be the host. And so you said you're a single mother.
Mm-hmm.
I know it comes with challenges. I'm not a single father or whatever, but I know it comes with challenges. And what are some of the challenges that you faced to bring out two boys? I saw them out there, and with boys, I know it's difficult.
Yeah. I would say challenges of being a single mother are that, first of all, you're taking on a role that's not supernatural. So you are taking on this role of fatherhood in a sense, because parenting kind of comes second when the main goal is to provide, to be a boss at work, to be able to pay all of the bills 100% on your own. A lot of the discipline and the nurturing kind of fight each other because you're doing all of it. And so I think that's a challenge that you won't necessarily think about if you're considering a divorce, or if you are in a situation where you are now a single parent. There's a lot of contradictory with parenting and discipline and nurturing and providing and having fun and learning what it is that you want to teach your kids and what it is that you want to imprint onto them through life. And I guess I'll just stop there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see Kenneth keeps looking at you.
But he moved me one time. You've seen me for a few years go through quite a bit of transition, through faith transitions, through just people I was in not great situations with, just people. You've seen me go through some low self-worth and really just work on prioritizing myself, finding who I am, and just getting to a better space.
Yeah, and I know I've known you for a while.
Yeah.
Honestly, I want you to know you are one of the people that I respect a lot.
Thank you.
Right? It's not easy, the things I've seen you go through, but each time you have this positive energy.
Thank you.
That you move with.
Thank you.
And someone might be like, hey, I'm in this situation, I'm struggling. I have 2 kids, 2 boys, I was saying, it's not easy. But I see you have fun with them. You are so much involved in their life, and you never, ever make an excuse.
Thank you. That's big.
Right. And so I'm how are you able to do that?
Yeah. I think you really don't have a choice. Like the choice is you ruin their lives forever and you like leave them and then you deal with that guilt, or you throw yourself deep into it and you say, we're doing this, and you just grind. Like those are your choices. And, you know, to each their own. I know that there's children that come from a lot of different situations with absent parents, me being one of them. So I get that. But being able to be a chaotic, hot mess with the kids is okay. Like there's really not that book that's going to teach you what you're doing. It's just like trial, error. I have 90% capacity for work, 10% capacity for dinner, bedtime, books, prayers, you know, and like something's going to get off of that list, or it's the weekend. I have to fully shut off from work, even if I feel like layoffs are happening this week, which has been my current situation for a while. Like every week there's layoffs, and somehow you have to just block it and decide, if I get laid off, then we will go work at McDonald's, we will go Uber, we will go do everything we have to continue to create consistency while the boys are at school, while they have no idea. Like you have to just start programming your mind of like, worst case scenario, what's the plan? What's the plan? What's the plan? What's the plan? And you always have that to just fall back on, so that you don't get hit with like a surprise, you know, because like the divorce, not having my family work out, that was a surprise, and I don't want to be there again. So it's always thinking about, you know.
Yeah, I get your point. But as a single mother to two amazing boys, I know at some point in life, even we who are, some people who are not parents or stuff, sometimes you go through some hurdles in life and you feel like giving up.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten to that point before, and how did you tune your mind to develop that mentality and strength to like push along?
I don't think my children have ever made me feel like I want to give up long term. Like for 5 minutes, yeah, I'm like, I don't want to be your mom right now. Go away. But like long term, my kids have never made me feel that. But other people, I would say, let me like put a pause in this. The hardest part of single parenting is dating, because you have to try and like have all these weird boundaries of like, I can see you during this time and this time, but not this time. And you can't meet my kids. But then do you even really know me if you don't see me with my kids? And then when you go through a breakup, you're hiding your heartbrokenness from your kids, and you're trying to still show up as a parent. So I would say my kids have never made me feel like I want to give up in parenting, but other people have made me wish that I was not in this situation over and over again. And really, it's brought me to my full-on knees, and I hate to bring religion and God into this because I don't really know what this audience is like, but like I'm just here to say that like God has fully held me and moved me and saved me from situations that I didn't know were bad for me, and fully, you know, put me in fertile soil where I can just grow. And I was not even asking for those things. So I just feel like for me personally, it's going to tie back to God. Like I was in, you know, an area of not having that. And so I can really speak to like the difference in where I was and where my self-worth was and what was happening in my world and what I was prioritizing. And now, you know, moving through some things and just being, you know, just my priorities are different. And my sense of groundedness of who I am is different, and I feel so much more at peace. So even when I have those bad days, I have something to fall back on.
Okay. And with all this, you still have the passion to give back to humanity. How did whatever you went through give you the positive mindset to like, let's say, oh, I want to travel here, I want to go here and impact people's life, like help people, give back to humanity? How does that work? Like, because me, I kind of feel like I have the same thing. Like when someone does me something, I don't keep it in mind. It was just recently someone was like, oh, I needed something and you helped me. And I was like, me? When I help people, I forget. I don't know if it's a weakness or it's a blessing. When I help people, that's it. I feel like it's not me. I'm not the one who helped you. It was God who used me to help you.
Yeah.
So how do you give back to humanity upon everything that humanity has thrown at you?
That's a good question. So I got a taste of humanitarianism when I was 18. Before I had my children, before I was married, I went on a quick trip to India by myself at 18. And I had no expectations. I didn't know where India was on the map. I didn't know what the people were like. I knew that I loved like Bombay House. I didn't know anything other than I loved the food. And I went with no expectations, and I met a version of me I never knew before, which was this authentic, happy, full of life girl that was inside of me. And when I came home, I was literally dragging my feet because I felt like I can't give that part of me up. I can't just lose her. And so the story continues that like I got pregnant, got married in 4 days, had the kids, had the marriage fell apart. And I knew when I was going through my divorce, I would hear my ex-husband say like, oh, if only I had my Doberman dog and my C-Class Mercedes, then I'd be happy. And I was looking at him like, I gave you 2 boys. What do you mean that that's when you'll be happy? And I remember feeling internally like, if I can get my body to Africa, I will be okay. And I don't know where that idea came from, but I knew internally that there was a piece of me that was somewhere else in the world that I had to go get again. And because I'd already been to India, I felt my next pull was to Africa. And so I was literally like, you know, at the time I was manifesting super hard. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get this money. I don't know where I'm going to pull this from. I don't know how I'm going to get my kids into like, you know, childcare or whatever. But this was during COVID. And so we all got our, what are they? The
coronavirus or what?
The money that we all got.
Oh, that's stimulus.
Yes.
Kind of stuff.
Yes. So I was waiting on my stimulus check, and I put that into stocks at the time because I wanted to play with it. And so I put all my money into Tesla, and I think it was like $800, and I just let it sit for a minute, and I knew that I needed like $1,500 to go to Africa. And I waited, and I was watching it like crazy, and I think like 2 months later, it hit to like $1,500. So I pulled it all out immediately, and I booked my flight immediately. And I was like, okay, I'm going. And so I didn't know where I was going or what would happen to me or what I would feel when I went to Africa. I just knew that I loved Afrobeat, and I knew that I just needed to go. I didn't know. So I was just following a feeling. And everything lined up where work allowed me to take 3 weeks off, and my children were going to be with their dad for the holidays anyways. So I went for Christmas. And literally from the second that I touched down, I just knew that this was like a place that I was going to have in my life for a really long time. And I was like, am I going to meet my African king here? Am I going to like, you know, do some amazing safari? And just, you know, I had these stereotypes of what it might be. And the culture just greeted me so gently. And at the time, somebody said to me on the plane, everywhere in the world has COVID right now, and everyone in the world is saying, stay home, don't leave, don't give me your sickness. But Africa says, bring your sickness to me, and I will heal you. You're probably laughing because you're like, yes. But that was my first awakening to what the culture was and the way I would be accepted and the way I would be welcomed in. And it was exactly that for 3 weeks. And just moment after moment, I was so touched by the humility of the people, by the gentleness of the people, by the patientness, by just the playfulness, just everything about this culture. And I'm sorry, I went to Tanzania. Everything about this culture just like penetrated every part of me, where I just knew that it was game on with humanitarianism. Like I wanted to continue in whatever way I could. And so again, coming home, I was excited to see my little ones, and I felt like it was a little bit too long for them, but I was ready to come home, and I was determined to not let that be the end of my story. Okay. And so I had a prayer in my heart when I was coming home that I would be able to find some type of a grassroots organization here that I could just start volunteering with, just to kind of learn what organizations are and how NGOs work and how to start one. And my long-term goal would be to start one. And so literally on the way home in the airport, I'm going through my Instagram, and one of my friends from high school had just started a nonprofit. And I said, what? This is amazing. Like, tell me more about this. And she said, this is a nonprofit for refugees, and we're in Syria and Afghanistan. And I was just like, you have to tell me everything about this as soon as I'm home. And she said to me, I actually need a co-founder. Would you be willing? And again, I just knew that prayer in my heart was because God, I'm one of God's hands, and this is the work that not everyone is interested in, but I am interested in this work. And so God said, okay, here. And so I came home, and we met, and we immediately got moving with refugee crises and creating literacy centers and homes for those who were, anyways. It's a long story. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry. It's so long.
No, you're okay.
All
You're
I can
okay.
say is wow. Like, honestly, thank you for being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right. I know that was like very heartfelt experience that you just shared with us. And listening to you talk, sharing your experience, like, I would say there are three things that stood out to me, right? The first thing was it doesn't have to be perfect. Whatever you are working on, whatever you're trying to do, realize that some days it might not go as planned as you wanted it to. But that doesn't mean you need to stop. Yeah. You should still enjoy it and keep at it, right? Yeah. It will not be perfect. But because you enjoy it, it will still keep living, right? And the second thing is, whatever you believe in, go in fully, right? Let that influence the decisions you make. And then the third thing is, experience is key in changing our mindset.
These are good takeaways.
Right?
Yes.
Because as you said, you went to India and then like you had all these experiences, and that can turn the switch in you, and you're like, whoa, like life is different somewhere else. Yes. And even though we may watch it on like social media, on like the news and stuff, unless we get there and we really interact with the people and the culture, we may never really understand what's going on.
Perfect.
And so thanks a lot for sharing those.
Yes, thank you.
So I have a question for you. I as a humanitarian myself who runs a nonprofit, it got to a point in life I was like, I don't want to post anything on social media to solicit for funds or anything. And that was when I was in Ghana. And then when I moved here, I registered a nonprofit here. And then I still wanted to go by that principle. And so I spoke to a mentor, and he was like, you really want to post and solicit for funds. There are people who really want to help. And also post what you do with the money and stuff on social media. I hated that idea, but after listening to several people, I came to understand that I have to. It's a must that I do it. And this brings me to my question. Do you feel people use humanitarian work to build their personal brand, or to make like some kind of like money, to pump money into their own pocket?
Yes. So I will say this. There is a lot of fraudulent work within NGOs. Things I've seen, as well as NGOs that have tried to interact with me. What I would say more specifically, just to be more helpful, I've seen that people will use others' diseases to amplify emotion to get people to donate. And so there's a point with an NGO that I was working with in Uganda where I literally had to call and check everything before I started to promote, because I felt just kind of not good inside. And as I continued to see how many children had third-degree burns on their body, and just really graphic things that kind of seemed a little bit avoidable, I started to think, like, are these children actually being hurt to get you guys to get funding within the village? I don't know. And And I had to do a lot of research and concludes that I did not go on that trip because I felt that there were some really unfortunate things going on in that village. And then that brings it back to the point of this is the problem with such different worlds that we're all living in and coexisting in at the same time, because which takes me to another story, which is that I was in somebody's living room in Turkey, a Syrian family that had fled. And I was sitting in the living room with Samir, the man who was taking care of me during my stay. And I said, Samir, I've got this literacy center for your children. Would they want to go? And he looked at me and he said, if I have to choose between giving my child an apple or giving my child a book, I will choose the apple. And to me, I was like, no, because to me, I'm raised with education. So to me, I'm like, oh, I could be hungry while going to school because that's going to get me farther in the long run. With the education, that opens up so many other doors and opportunities. But for someone who hasn't seen that yet and their lifestyle doesn't provide that type of context, they're just going to continue to go for the food. And so for him, he wasn't open to our literacy centers. And I understand that that's the reality. So to go back to this nonprofit I'm talking about in Uganda, if they're injuring people to get money because they need money because they are so poor, I don't want to say who are we to judge, but we haven't walked that journey. I've got another mother who was telling me that she was in the process of choosing between selling her eyes or selling her child.
Wow.
And that was what the whole filter came down to, was one or the other. And she said, I'm going to sell my child. And we did a bunch of fundraising and we were able to, get her get the food, get the funds for her living arrangements for that month. But how is that sustainable? Yeah. Because then next month we're going to be there again. And so I think that's a part of nonprofit work that is really hard and frustrating. And I know that you guys understand that it's the constant battle of like creating aid currently. But what do we do to get to that end result of not creating this as a pattern, not creating begging as a pattern, not creating injuring others as a pattern to get emotion out of someone? Yeah. And I mean, I could talk about that for a whole podcast, but we live in such a world of desensitization that people aren't feeling the same way that we used to feel our phones. Everything has taken emotion away from us. And so you have to work so much harder to get emotion. So as you see everything going on in Gaza, which is where I'm currently trying to create so much promotion and awareness, we are watching every horrific, like the most horrific R-rated movie you could ever imagine times a million. We are watching in front of us and we're just scrolling. I don't want to watch that. That's ruining my vibe right now. I don't want to be sad right now. Next. And it's just like, we're just so desensitized. So they're working so hard to film it and to post it and to put it out there to get your awareness, your emotion, because it's gone.
Yeah. So I don't know if Kenneth has something to ask you or anything, but if he doesn't, my last question is, so with all this, you've traveled a lot. You mentioned that you're a solo traveler and you help people, humanitarians and stuff. How are the mindset of these people? How is it like? Do they have the vision of, okay, I really want to be successful in life? And how are they trying to, because I come from Africa, and in Africa, I was fortunate to come from a family whereby my dad didn't care what I go into. Okay. But the culture is more of like, even if your parent don't force you to become a lawyer or a doctor, if you go outside there are other family members or other friends that you know who are focusing on becoming a doctor because their dad or mother was like, hey, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer.
They'll say.
How are these children, even with the things that they are facing, like, I know we can talk about lack of food, lack of education and other stuff. How are their mind being programmed to become successful or to even vision that thing that they want to achieve?
Are you asking in relation to the nonprofit I was involved with?
All the people that you've met, like helped. how do you see their mindset when it comes to being successful in life?
To think about that a little bit longer. I haven't witnessed yet the full transformation from 0 to 100 or the 360, so I don't feel like I can give a full answer there. But what I can say is that I think humanitarianism is rooted in desire and in commitment. That's for the people who try and create resources in humanitarianism, as well as the people who are benefiting from humanitarianism, is where's the desire and where's the commitment. And so, for example, when we had our literacy centers in Afghanistan, we had to work with the Taliban and tell them, we plan to teach the children this and this and this, and the women are going to be taught this and this and this, and we'd have to get it approved. And somehow the Taliban was like, okay, that's fine. And that was crazy because women and children are not allowed to be educated in Afghanistan. So I don't know how we did that. But the danger of traveling to our literacy center was there. The danger of traveling in the evenings was there. The sacrifice of traveling, I guess those are 3 good examples, but it took something for them to benefit from our services, and we're not going to make you do that, but they had a desire to want more for their life. Okay. And so I can't put that desire in you, but if you want that, I have resources.
Okay.
And I can't put commitment in you, but if you are committed to your own growth, then we'll have a party. And okay. So I would say desire and commitment.
All right.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. It didn't really answer your question.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
No, it's understandable because you haven't. It was kind of like a good answer because you haven't been with them to see the transition.
Yeah,
which
30 years. No.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
But have you regretted helping someone before?
Have I regretted?
Yeah, helping someone before.
I will say that I did donate to that nonprofit before I really did my research. And then when I thought, are these children being hurt and I'm just funding that I did regret that because you do need to do research.
All right.
But we can cut that out. And I'm going to say no.
Okay.
You can ask me again and I can say no.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know if you have anything to ask her or if you have any last words to share with our
What I just want to say is it's not enough to have the desire, right?
That's true.
You want something, you have to be committed to it. And as you said, those are the people you look out for. And so if someone has a desire and you see that they are committed, then it moves you to go in and try to help them fulfill that desire.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing.
Yes. Yes. Like our waiting list had like 400 people on it and we had to pick. So correct. Like.
All right. Any last words to your audience? Someone who have just in general to people who you feel are facing or have faced most of the things that you have faced in your life in terms of divorce, in terms of like being betrayed or whatever, like just being a single mom, how would you share a message to encourage them?
I would say this is going to go perfectly into the podcast that I'm creating, which is that I believe that there's 4 pillars to life that continue to evolve, which are passion, service, love. I'm forgetting my 4th pillar, so ignore
God.
all of this. Love is the God. If I had a little bit more time, I would have pulled that out of my brain, but ignore that. I would say that finding your passion will lead you to your purpose. So if you are in the midst of a divorce, in the midst of a crisis, in the midst of poverty, in the midst of giving up, find one thing that really ignites you, not just makes you happy, but ignites you from the inside, whether that's music, whether that's dance, whether that's people, cooking. It can be very minuscule, but you actually don't know what that thing is and where that branches out to, where you can monetize that, where that can start to give back to your soul. But finding your passion will help you create your purpose.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation and sharing so much impactful messages and things that you've been through that can help someone. And just like we always say, today it was the Success Mindset again with this amazing episode. And I was here with Ella. And if you go on her Instagram, it's Ella at Mama, right?
It's earthmama.ella. And then
Ella.
the podcast is earthtones.podcast.
Okay, so you can go check her page out. She's an amazing lady. She dances to entertain people as well. And as well, I was here.
Now.
And as well, I was here with my co-host, which was Kenneth. We'll see you in the next episode, and I hope you subscribe and stay tuned for more episodes. Till we meet again, adios.